Happy Monday morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a nice weekend. It's a muggy, well, if 70s can be muggy, uh, overcast, maybe some rain today type day here in Ireland. Um, so, okay, so let's get right into it. Uh, I'm really excited. I know you probably saw in your email, and I had mentioned last week that I was trying to chase down some folks from my network. I sent you all the resume of Paul Lopez, who is an operations and engineering leader in RF that has most recently worked for Chantel for a good period of time. A fellow that used to work for me, Rick Mason, is now a senior VP at Chantel, who I respect greatly. Built a great team. Gives Paul glowing recommendation, and he certainly wouldn't do that if he didn't feel that way. Both Mike and I have spoken to Paul. We spoke to him a couple months ago. He's got about 10 years experience leading RF design for both Chantel and Cricket. He's going to be a good fit, and certainly a some well-needed assistance as I continue to fall behind. Anyway, so please take a look at that email. Give me any of your thoughts. I'm going to set up a couple calls with some folks for Paul for today and tomorrow. I am looking to do a very brief, contract to hire, which would allow him to start this week and get some work done while we go through the actual more formal hiring process. So really excited about that. Most of you, well, a lot of you have met Samuel. He's the young fellow that I wanted to bring on as the design lead. Hopefully we can get him onboarded full-time before the end of the month. I don't think we're going to be able to meet our design numbers at the moment if we don't have some kind of immediate help. So those two things in the works. I think securing those two folks, in addition to Mike and the board working hard to bring on a VP of operations, will make a big difference in our ability to meet our objectives. Okay, so that's that from a broad perspective. I'm going to spend some time on that today. I do need to spend some time today preparing for the board meeting tomorrow. I know in my last email update I said I'm not going to be available for one-on-ones and some other items this week. Meetings. I am going to be obviously at the board meeting. So I do need to spend some time preparing for that today. From a more granular standpoint, so we did lose one of our national vendors. ITC hasn't replied. Well, I haven't looked yet this morning, but they hadn't replied to my to my email. I'll give John a call. I don't think they're interested at this point, and I really don't want to start a relationship that we're going to depend on as much as we're going to depend on that one, kind of on the left foot, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to think about that one a little bit. I'm going to explore our options today with some other local vendors, and reach out to see if there's some other people we might talk to. But the process of bringing on a contractor isn't short. It can be short, but it can be short and painful. So we need to remember that if we go the short and potentially painful route, we might end up spending some more money, maybe having some unhappy clients, and then having to go through the process all over again in 60 days, right? So finding vendors that are excited and can do the work should be, right, a relatively time-consuming process. So we're going to start that off. The other thing is, so we had the 6-week delay, in order to be able to fit in all the kickoff calls and all of those things. So we did lose the vendor, but the vendor, the projects that we have that are workable, that are ready for deployment, are an inconvenient bunch. There are some projects that are relatively quick in terms of the work that is not service drops, right? Service drops are, they're fairly consistent, right, across all the projects. Some are harder than others, but it's still, about, 2/3 to 3/4 of the work. But it's the other parts that are inconvenient. In the almost 4,000 units that we have that are workable, design complete and partner approved, we have a fair amount of large projects. Seeing that we won't be able to initiate ITC on September 1st like we had planned, some of those large projects become extremely high risk if we don't start them until, say, October 15th. And let's say we can get somebody on board and ready to go by October 15th. They just aren't viable, right? If we are counting on them for 2025 deliverables. So what I'm trying to do, and what I spent a bunch of hours yesterday trying to do, is to come up with a list of projects that are not workable yet, that are with partners that are likely to approve them in the near term, that will get us to our year-end target. So we were hoping for 1,000 in November and 1,500 in December. And when you replace large projects with small projects, you obviously have to design and get approved a much higher count, right? And as we found out, design work, the time required to complete and approve a design based on is not contingent on the number of subs, right? You can have 1,200 subs with, you know, very few typical designs, and where you know, the units are or the types of units or the types of buildings are pretty much standardized, right? So that could go through pretty quickly. Whereas you can have a low number like Machado, right, which, you know, took a long time to do because there were many unstandard, unstandard's not a word, but non-standard ways of providing service to all the units across 5 different levels, when there was actually only 3 floors. So, so that's the issue that I'm trying to solve at the moment. You know, how do I ramp up? First of all, can I find them, right? Can I find the projects that are smaller that can be completed, you know, in 60 days max, to replace the larger projects, 500-600 units, that had to start in September in order to be viable for 2025? Or do we just make the decision, right, that we continue on with the same schedule, except for moving out those projects and assigning them to a vendor when we get one, and we'll just have a much lower number at the end of the year? That's something really for Mike and I and the board to discuss and make a decision on. Okay, so that's what I'm working on. Also spending a fair amount of time with the consultants, the software, and the tools and the process for PMO and for logistics are well underway. I do think that we will start using them probably next week in a real sense, as we prepare for October starts. Yeah, so that's it. So a lot going on. I hope you all are keeping up your spirits. We do have, you know, Mindy has 2 people starting either this week or next week, which is great. Hopefully I can have somebody starting this week, and maybe, you know, the first week in September, and those things will greatly expand our abilities to meet the challenges that are ahead of us. So if you have any questions, you know, feel free to drop me an email. If it's urgent, text me, as Mike found out on Friday night. If you ping me, email me, text me, you will eventually get me, depending on where I am, unless I'm already asleep. So, okay, thanks everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.